Now, the New Patriotic Party, NPP, has fulfilled 56.77% of its 2016 campaign promises. That's the verdict of IMANI Ghana's final report card on delivery by the government. The report focused on the economy, governance, human capital, investment, infrastructure, and others. Research consultant for IMANI Africa, Dennis Asare, says a lot of progress has been made in the economy, especially with the passage of a fiscal responsibility law to ensure macroeconomic stability. However, government's 2016 promise to ensure double-digit GDP is yet to be realized. Listen to him score government on infrastructure and in the general terms.
The NPP also promised that their main approach of addressing flooding in this country was that they were going to establish what we call a National Hydrology Authority. But we are yet to see this authority being established. So they were unable to fulfill the promises under flooding. Sorry. Technical, please. So if you look at their performance in the area of structural development, you see they perform very poorly in tackling floods, and currently in Accra, 1 hour of rain, about 5 communities will be flooded within a major city like Accra. But they perform very well in the area of communication, expanding telecommunication access to the unserved areas, increasing the bandwidth of services. This mobile money interoperability system were all very significant in that particular area, and port and harbour expansions were also very good in the area of roads too. 2020 was dubbed the year of roads, so they made some investment in that area. So when you put the 5 themes together, that is economy, infrastructure, human capital investment, and social services, what we found is that then the computerized system I talked about earlier will now generate a final scorecard. So between 2017 to 2020, the NPP government has been able to fulfill only 56.77% of the 510 manifesto, 2016 manifesto promises that they gave to Ghanaians. So in their 2016 manifesto, they made 510 promises, and as at now, they have fulfilled only 56.77%. So this is a breakdown of the thematic in terms of their performance in the various themes.
Let's now go straight to my guests. Dennis Asare, who was speaking there, has joined us via Zoom, and Andrew Ejapamesa, who is Member of Parliament for Sekendi on the ticket of the NPP, has joined us as well. Gentlemen, welcome. Let me begin with you, Mr. Asare. What did IMANI seek to do? How did IMANI quantify a project as completed or a promise as fulfilled?
Okay, so thank you very much, and good afternoon to your viewers, Daniel. So in our manifesto project, as part of the broader manifesto project, what we seek to do is to assess the performance of government in terms of their commitment to their manifesto promises. So in our assessment, we grade promises between 0 to 1. So where 0 means that no work has been done, and 1 means work has been fully completed on that particular promise. We integrate it into the manifesto assessment framework. Then we get a scorecard that measures the performance.
So if you go to a village and maybe a water system was supposed to have been constructed, if that water system is simply just a structure has been put up and it's not providing water yet, would you score that as 0 or 1?
Okay, so in that case, when we are assessing the promises, we look at what processes fully implement this particular promise. Then we look at, as part of the process, what are the stage of completion. If the promise is to construct a water project and that project has been constructed, it has been fully implemented. But if the promise goes on to say that construct and extend to communities, then we now look at, has it then been extended to communities? Right. But when they are specific and says, let's say, expand or construct a water project, then once the project has been completed, we give them the full score.
Dennis, just give me a moment. Let me go to Mr. Mesa. Now, Lawyer Mesa, you heard that the verdict of your government's performance in these 4 years has been 56.77%. You heard Dennis himself at that presentation say it's only 56.77%. Surely, you could have done better.
Well, let me say good afternoon to our viewers, and to say that I was indeed at the presentation of the IMANI a manifesto. And I heard Dennis indicate that we have done 56.7%, which I disagree with. And as a party, we disagree, because if you look at the parameters that they use, clearly, the projects that are ongoing and have not reached completing stage were clearly excluded.
You're live on Joy News today. Our guests in this segment of the bulletin, Andrew Ejapame, a member of Parliament for Sekondi, who you heard clearly say he disputes the findings of IMANI. Let's get back to him quickly and get him to round that point. Now, you were on the point, Mr. Mensah, that they excluded projects that were not complete.
Clearly, the parameters that they use is to assess only completed manifesto commitments. We have used a parameter that indicates that, look, to the extent that our expectation is not to execute everything that we've committed right from the very beginning, that it takes some process to reach completion point. The very moment that we start and in the process of delivery, we capture it as having been part of our achievements to the people, because to the extent that funds have been committed to the project and it is ongoing, our expectation is that those projects will actually be delivered. And so,
but Mr. Mensah, for the people who would vote for you based on the promise and expect a certain outcome that will impact their lives, simply allocating funds to build a school, for instance, is not the impact they were looking for. Is that not
absolutely
the case?
But I'm saying that if I have promised to build a classroom block and then I have reached lintel level,
right, let me take these thoughts that Mr. Mensah brought up to Dennis, who's with us on the other line. Dennis, so what do you say to this dispute that Mr. Mensah and the NPP raises?
Okay, so Daniel, if Mr. Mensah heard us clearly during the presentation, we didn't only look at the promises that were completed. So there were three categories of the promises. There were the ones that have been, in terms of their performance, the ones that have been fully implemented, partially implemented. Then we also have the promises that they didn't touch at all. You understand? So if we are looking at our analysis, we also captured the promises that they are yet to fulfill. All of that is captured in our assessment framework. So the assessment does not only look at the promises that have been fully completed. That's why I said that when we were talking about the methodology, I made mention that when we are doing this assessment, what we also pay attention to is the fact that some promises, it will take time. Sometimes for a promise to be implemented, there needs to be a legal framework. So in grading each promise, we look at the processes required to complete it. Where some works have been done, a score of between 0.1 to 0.9 will be awarded to that particular promise. So if Mr. Mensah heard us clearly during the discussion of the methodology, maybe he missed that part. We considered all the promises, and in determining the final scorecard, the partially implemented promises were also included.
Right. Right. Mr. Mensah, go ahead.
You see, as I was there, I heard that. But my point is, for instance, tackling flooding zero. But I know that Parliament has approved a facility for the Greater Accra Resilience Project, okay, which then seeks to deal significantly with the outdoor channel drains. But you capture it as zero and does not capture the fact that funding has been procured for a project that seeks to control flooding in the outdoor channel, okay, because the project, the assessment has not started. Okay, so I'm saying that yes, you may use different parameters, but the point of the matter is that we as a government, based on our assessment and the parameters that we use,
right, Mr. Mensah, your point was made. I'm just hoping that we can get a clear enough connection for the answer to my next question, which will be: has government done their analysis of how much they have fulfilled The last we heard was at the beginning of the year where the president mentioned 72%, and during the delivery tracker, the launch of the delivery tracker website. But where are we now as far as government's own assessment of what has been done?
Yes, I absolutely. And of course, at the time that His Excellency the Vice President was doing his presentation post the figure that the President had put out, some additional work had been done, which was also integrated into our final results. I'm saying that significantly, IMANI has done a good job, if you ask me. A third party has assessed the performance of the new patriotic party midterm and the final score